Hello, everyone, and welcome to Inner Secrets Revealed, Kabbalah class with Dr. Gil Tivon. As always, I am your host with Metaphysical Sciences TV, Mike Ray. We have yet another amazing and enlightening class ahead of us today. Today, we will be covering the sacred Hebrew letter Zion, or Z, as it translates into English. And we will be talking about assertiveness versus cautiousness, and the Sephira of Chesed to the hidden Sphira of Da-ath, which we will get into in a little while. I'm just going to pull up real quick what we've been working on so far, what we've been learning so far in the lecture in this series. We have been discussing the Tree of Life, the Kabbalistic Tree of Life. So let me just pull this up real quick. Okay, so we have the Tree of Life, and here it is. This is one of the many depictions. We've gone over many of the letters of the Hebrew alphabet and their secrets and their sacred meanings. We've gone over the Hebrew letter Aleph, or A, Mem, or M, Shin, S, Daleth, D, the letter Bet, or B, the letter Gimel, or G, the letter Kaf, the letter Pei, the letter Resh, the letter Zion is what we will be discussing today. And of course, here are the depictions of the Tree of Life, which are most relevant to what we are speaking of today. As the previous episodes, we have gone over each one of the Sphira from starting at Kether, or the crown, going all the way down to Malkuth, which is kingdom, and everything in between. Now we are going to be focusing on the different meridians, or the different lines connecting these different Sphira, or the different vortices on the Tree of Life. And of course, we will be discussing the sacred meanings and the connection between these emanations and the attributes that are assigned to them. So, without further ado, we will turn it over to the man of the hour. Let's give him the power, Dr. Gil Tivon, everybody. Dr.
Good evening to you, Mike. Good evening to you all. We do have a little snag, and it's not on our end. I know that a dear friend Mike has been putting hours to try and solve this technical issue, which is actually trying to record on two different channels, which is beyond my scope of understanding that logistics and that computer language. So he's been doing his very, very best. So even though we have advertised and advertising is correct, we will put this recording later on. It will be available on YouTube or on Facebook and everywhere else for you to watch. You are more than welcome to always text us and send the questions either through Mike or to me directly, and I will send to you now through the chat that you will see it later, my private email. And please just send one question per person. If you want private sessions that you can also mention in your email, and we will try to attend and address your private questions later on. So Mike, if you can please bring that beautiful Tree of Life you brought on before, I will address it and say like this. So even though Mike gave us this very nice overview of what we saw and which letters we spoke about, you can bring it up, Mike. It will be very nice and kind of you. But I will give you the key, the secret key to it, to the Tree of Life. So we have really three sets of letters within the Hebrew alphabet. And again, the Hebrew alphabet is not something which is just rigid. It's not random. It is the sacred language. The other one, Mike, with the letters on it that you brought before. Yes, that one. Let's stay there. Let's freeze that for a second. It's a sacred language, the language of God, the language of the Bible, the language of the Torah, with which creation itself was done. So this is incredible. And we've seen 22 letters, plus the 10 Sephirot, which is together 32. The number which the book of Yetzirah, the book of creation, speaks about the great length, with the number of meridians that come out from the mind, all the way down to our teeth, and the 32 teeth, 16 on top, 16 at the bottom, all the way down to the great meridian Tiferet, which is the heart, which in Hebrew is called Elev, and Lev is Lamed Bet, which is also the geometrical value of 32. So number 32, which is made up of 22 letters and 10 sephirot, is of incredible value. It depicts DNA, it depicts who we are, it connects mind, body, and soul, it connects even our teeth. And even our pancreas is called in Hebrew a double heart, lev, lev, lav, lav, which means there's also inside embedded the hidden secret of that sacred number of 32. Now I want to divide for you, since we are also looking at the overview and then zooming in, for you to have an overview, a strategy of where we're going. Because without strategy, we're just going to draw on an endless amount of information, which you might say, well, it's too much for me. So let me write you through the chat, which you can see now or later, whenever it is, the 3 different groups of letters that we are discussing. This is not mine. This is over 5,000 years old. It comes from the book of Yetzirah. Let me turn my computer, my laptop into the Hebrew, which I do have, and let me write you like this. Right. This is the first 3 letters, and these 3 are called the mother letters, or the foundation letters. Right. These are the 3 which actually depict the 3 major elements on which the world exists. Thank you, Mike. Which is the Aleph, which we have dealt with in the past, the letter of the element of air. The Mem, it comes from the word mine or water, right? And the Taf is that letter, right? And let me just do it in a different way. I want to add for you something else over here. That should be, and the Shin. Sorry, it wrote what it wants, and I want to make 100% sure that we are absolutely correct. And there we go. I don't have the Hebrew with me. I just have to guesswork which are the right letters there. So this is the correct one. Excuse me, the correct one. So Aleph is for air in Hebrew, Avir. Mem is for the Mayim, which means water. In many languages, right? Aqua and Wasser in German. And the Shin is a letter of the fire element. It looks like fire. Where is the 4th element? The 4th element is earth, right? And that is definitely depicted in the infrastructure, in the vessel with which our bodies are made. The earth is made, so it's very much there. But these are the 3 major ones, which the book of Yetzirah, the book of creation, is called the 3 mothers, the 3 foundations on which every human being, every single character, every animal, every blade of grass, everything around the world is made out of these 4 elements. The 4th one, being the earth element, is the vessel which holds all the 3 elevated elements. There's the group of the first 3. The next group, which Mike before mentioned a few letters, will be these letters, which is, let me write it like this in a special way that you can see it better. Ka, po, ret. See, correct. This is the next level of letters. So first there are the first 3. Then there's a next level which we discussed. Each one of these 7 letters which are that are uploaded for you now. Beget Kaporet, B, G, D in the English. Let's call it a C, like a cat, not C like a cat, not like a cell phone, but it has to sound like a CH, a kaf. Pay for the P, R, Resh for the R, and Taf for the T. Right? These are the 7 letters which govern and control all the major spheres. So if you look at these 10 letters that are written for you now, these are the letters which actually govern all the major spheres, and there are none others than that. So once you understand this, you ask yourself, hold on. First of all, it's beautiful. So the 10 letters, why do I need 22? First question. Second question, why did you divide them into 2 groups? The first 3 and the next 7. Well, there's something very special again about the first 3, which depict the 3 major elements which juggle the differences between us. Each one of us has got inside him or her these 4 elements, including the earth. But the level, the percentage which is different within us is different. One will be a farmer or a person of the law, and the element of earth will be very strong, very dramatic within their character. One will be a person of a show, will be a salesman or an actor. The element of fire will be very much out there, or a person of the MMA. One will be a politician or a person of lots of communication. It will be the element of air. And the fourth one will be more spiritual, very kind, therapy, psychic, intuition. That will be the element of water. So we all have all the four. The percentage of the ingredients make for the difference between us. And we will make a whole lecture about it to understand about marriages and about how you made, and what about astrological chart and each of the elements, how do the underlying powers behind the astrological chart. We will go into this in the near future, please God. Next level we're discussing are the group of these 7 letters. The group of these 7 letters in the Hebrew, we have to know that there is a great common denominator amongst them, even though they look very different. What is the common denominator? Well, each one of these letters can come in a soft way, I'll explain what I'm saying, and in a harder way. What do I mean? For example, in the English, you have a T, which sounds like a T, and you have a TH. That, this, thou. It doesn't sound like a T, it sounds like a TH. The same applies in the Hebrew. This last letter that I gave you out of the 7, which is the Taf, the T, can come in a hard way, which will just be a T, and spelled like a T, and it can come with a TH, meaning you take out of it a dot within it, which will sound like a th, like a TH, very much like the English. The P, in English, there's a P and there's an F. In the Hebrew, it's one letter for the pay, which can be with a dot inside, will be a hard P, like Patrick, Patricia, or it can be an F, which will be like fantasy, phantom. So it's either a PH or an F. So each one of these letters, etc., has got a double way of expression depending on whether it is dotted inside, which will make it the hard way of expression, or the soft way. And again, that will make a very big difference to the character of the person, to his name, and why is it this way. We're not delving into this. What is important for us to understand, since each one has got a double meaning, double way of expression, that's why they were chosen, divinely so, to control and to govern the actual Sephirot, the emanations of God. That's the second level. The third level, I'm going to write it for you now, right? And let me just concentrate a second. This is the last 12 letters which are left, because so far we spoke about 10. And that's the last 12 letters, which, right, that's one, exactly right, thank you. And these are the letters which got only, they're called the simple letters. They got into one way of expression. The same as the English. Let's say in H. There is no H and then HH, double H. There is no two ways of expressing it. When it comes, let's say, to the L, there is no other way in the English of spelling L like an F. An F can be an F and can be a PH, can be a P. The two different expressions. But also in the English, there's only one expression for an S. There are no two. There's only one expression in English for the Z, which we're going to zoom in tonight. There's no ZH. There's only a Z. So very much like the English, which is a later addition, later development from the original Hebrew, and the English again came from the Latin, which came from the Greeks, which came from the Latin from Rome, that came previously from the Greeks about 2,000 years ago, plus minus. All are an evolution or a revolution or an evolvement of the original Hebrew, and therefore we also even call it in Latin or in the Greek or in the English alphabeta, mentioning the Hebrew aleph bet as it's called. These letters again depict the meridians. Now I want you to think very quickly, and whatever comes back up to your mind, firstly, where do we find the number 12? Why is the number 12 so expressed in olden mythology, theology, metaphysics? Because if I look at my fingers, last time I counted, it was just 10. Yes, we do sell till today. In everywhere we sell dozen eggs. In England till today, the number dozen, we count things in dozens. Where do we see in nature a dozen? Very hard to find, very challenging. And the answer is especially in one particular place. There are 12 hours on our clock, on our watches, and that comes from the fact that there are 12 zodiac signs. So this is of great importance. I'm giving you keys. I'm making you independent to understand why do we zoom in on different letters. They're not random. They don't just happen to be there. They have a system within them that creates reality. The spiritual level coming down to the the mental level, emotional level, down to the physical and practical level, on every level. So these 12 letters, each one depicts a different zodiac sign. And therefore, the 10 first letters that we discussed depict 10 Sephirot, 10 emanations, and the major planets which are very close to us. Each one has got, and we discussed it as we went along, each one has got a very specific, huge planet around in the sky around us, which is a major power which shows us the influence, the bounty, the prosperity that go descending through that divinely, through that planet, all the way to us. And that's astrology, which I teach in other places on a professional and Kabbalistic level. The 12 zodiac signs are more in the background, and they depict the colors. You know, life without color is just black and white. It's Charlie Chaplin kind of movies. I think we moved 100 years away already from there. Look at the difference between speaking to each other on FaceTime in color and not in color. So the zodiac signs give us the color, give us the in-between. And let me give you a nice analogy. I have in front of me a bowl, and I fill it up with big oranges. Seemingly it's full, cannot hold even one more orange, it's going to spill over. Then I ask you, is that completely full? It's absolutely full. Full of what? Full of oranges. Now let's go to a deeper level. If I want to put inside it little grapes, will there be space? Of course there's space. There's no space for oranges, but there's definitely space for grapes. Now I'm done. Now you're getting the drift. Can you fill it up with something? Absolutely. We can fill it up with little stones or crystals. Is there a place for more? Absolutely. For sand or for water. So each time there's another level, micro level, that I can still fill it up, even though I thought to start with it's already filled up. The same applies with the 12 letters and the zodiac signs. They give the complete picture of how our life is being manifested and run. The key is that you have a free choice. The key is that even though many things in life are predetermined, your height, the day that you were born, and according to Kabbalah, many times the day that you will depart from this earth, arrivals and departures, your IQ, the wife or the husband that you will find at the right time, your ability to bring children, how much money you will make per year. Most of these things are predestined, preordained. Wow. In other words, it really doesn't make a difference so much how much effort you put in. You can have many degrees, and many people with very high level of IQ degrees are homeless or earn very little. And many people that never stepped a foot in university are multimillionaires. Realtors, people that do with the stock exchange, diamonds, rough diamonds, cut diamonds, etc. So it doesn't depend on your level of education. Very interesting point. So according to this, what we come to understand is that in a second, Mike, I can see in the back of my right eye, I can see the question. So that's why we need very much those 12 letters to color up our life and give us the total picture. There's no beyond. This is the picture. Now let's see if we need to address the question now or later on. Question: do the scriptures start with the same Hebrew letters in the same pattern as they appear on the tree of life? Very good question. So the answer is no, they do not. They do not come in this way. Nevertheless, it is hinted that they do come this way. I'll explain. They do not appear in that order. But nevertheless, the scripture does hint and reveal to us as they come along. What do I mean? Let's look again in the story of creation. At the beginning, right, God has created heavens and earth. Heavens and earth. Earth is the element of earth. In Hebrew, the element of the heavens or the sky is made of up to two words, right, which is the element of fire and the element of water. And then it says the land was void, and the spirit, or in the Hebrew it says the in the right translation will be the wind. In other words, the element of air was in the Hebrew. That's what it says. Was hovering over the earth. In other words, all the four elements are mentioned within the first 2 or 3 verses. And then it says, "In God said, let it be light." What is light? The element of fire. So if we look into the story of creation, yes, the 4 elements are the first to be mentioned within creation because these are the blocks, the building blocks that God has used. And later on, God discusses, and he also created the stars and the zodiac signs, which behind this is depicting in a very covered, dressed up language, the 12 different zodiac signs, hence the 12 letters, which I wrote to you in the chat between us. Is this pattern a pattern of creation or a blueprint of creation? And the answer is, it is the blueprint of creation, which God uses for the pattern of creation. The difference is as follows. Blueprint of creation, we've got nothing to do with our free choice. That's God given. Right? So we've got an infrastructure, we've got a blueprint given by God. Then the pattern of creation is, I am a partner with God in creation. I can make changes in creation, as we see that first man, Adam, and his wife Eve indeed do. They could have created and came to the end and tikkun of creation with the actions, but they chose to listen to the evil inclinations, so destroyed a lot in creation. So the pattern of creation changed completely because of man's action. And this is a very, very interesting equation, a dialogue, a very delicate balance between God is creating, but man can destroy. Second World War, 40 million people were killed by the Nazis. So is that God's hand? No. This is human beings' free choice to destroy and kill just for the sake of power, of conquering, of his own ego. So this answers both. Pattern is created by human beings. Blueprint is created by God. How do these sounds of these letters influence reality? Well, we addressed it a few lectures back, which says we have tried by 2 experts in computers. They have tried many different languages with different kind of sounds, different kind of letters, and none of the letters created and depicted the same sound wave and vision or pattern of the letter. But I say A in the English, right, and I put it onto a computer, special algorithm, it does not depict the letter of A. But when I do say Aleph in the Hebrew, the computer algorithm gives me an Aleph. In other words, this is the waveform, the vibration which it creates in creation. So the Hebrew letters vibrate throughout the universe. Now, we do know today quantum physics, which I delve a lot into, and it's one of the things that I lecture about, and that is that quantum physics and Kabbalah go hand in hand. We call it Kabbalistic quantum transformation, in short. And that is that I can take an atom and split it here, and I can send part of it to the end of the universe, beyond lattice, beyond any connection between these two. And once I vibrate half the atom over here, or electron, or proton, whatever it is, its twin part is going to vibrate at the end of the universe, way beyond the speed of light. And that baffles scientists completely. What we call in human language soulmates. You never met your soulmate yet. You're too young for that. Or you haven't found him or her yet. Nevertheless, you feel there's somebody out there that thinks like you, that feels like you, that is overwatching you, and every action of yours and every thought and feeling has a repercussion on this person somewhere in the universe, whether it's on Earth or different planets that we don't know. Interesting. Now let's zoom in on our topic for tonight, as I see that we are speaking away and we've got quite a few questions, as Mike told me before. So let's look 1 second at Tree of Life. Very good, especially the left one. Yeah, just Let's freeze it for a second, Mike. So you see the letter Zayin, which we're going to discuss tonight, and still there's lots of work ahead of us. Because once we finish the Karate Kid, which means wish wash, we understand the different elements we're dealing with, then we're going to start really playing. Then we're going to learn about the 72 names of God, and then we're going to learn about the different wheels hidden within the tree of life. We only at the very beginning, we only scratched the surface. So I think about the next 10, 20 years, no, seriously, and I'm teaching it to other people in different places on private workshops. The next 10, 20 years, we can definitely book together, and maybe then we will know much more, but we will not know everything. Not me, and I suspect that also not you. I will pray that you will be bigger than me and know better than me, definitely. And with our interactions, like through these questions, we will, both of us, all of us, grow together. So if you look at the letter Zayin, you see that it actually formulates the connection between Chokhmah, which is wisdom sphere, and that which is knowledge. Now, the letter Zayin has got a very, very special. You see it up there. I can use my mouth, but you won't be able to see it. I think Mike can use his mouth to pinpoint and zoom in on that letter Zayin up there on the left, which connects between Chokhmah and Da-ath. If you can, Mike, use your that will be very, very kind of you. What does this letter mean? In the Hebrew, unlike other letters, nothing is rigid, nothing is random. The very shape of the letter and its name are very meaningful. Thank you, Mike. Letter Zayin in Hebrew comes from the word a vessel of war. A vessel of war. In other words, when I go to war, I need to be armored. And that armory, right, has to come, that arsenal is depicted by the letter Zayin. If you look at it, it looks like a man with some kind of a helmet that is running forward, full speed. So the letter actually, the first time it comes in the Bible, which we know Kabbalistically, that means that is the essence of the letter, means the ability to bring both forward prosperity and movement. For example, a sperm. There are 250 million sperms swimming towards one egg, trying to fertilize it, and one, the strongest one, the one who swims the hardest because it's got spirit, makes it to the egg, fertilizes it, and creates you. That is the secret of the letter Zayin. It means also the procreating organs that we have, male and female, and it also means the power of fighting. And interestingly enough, in the English, there's no connection between fighting spirit and war and weapons and procreation kind of organs. In the Hebrew, it's all the same for both male and female. It's not, this is definitely a male kind of a letter, but it also depicts the female organs which are used for procreation. Let's summarize. This letter means fertility. That letter means the ability to fight. That letter means the ability to move forward, the ability to create movement, progress. This is the upside, the beautiful side of it. Try to think together with me what will be the permutation, the flip side of it. The flip side, in a second, I see the question already coming up. The flip side of it will be that the person having this letter, let's say the word, let's say Zoya or Zen, or in the Hebrew, there's a very famous name called Ezra, which will have this letter Zayin, right? Z in the name, and many others, right? So the flip side of it will be somebody who's so agitated, so assertive that they don't find any peace of mind, quiet, and calmness in their mind. And that is a big, big challenge. In other words, when we finish our days of work, the inertia of running around, the momentum is so hard that it takes long time for people to relax. That's why people go drinking. That's why people go Netflix. That's why people take long time to fall asleep and end up the next day either waking up late or with a headache if they have to get up early. And so you need to know when to halt, when to stop, when to slow down. And that letter does not have it within it. The letter is all the way forward. It's hasty. It's impulsive. In a nice way, I call it being very assertive. Because if you want to have a man of war, like King David, he was a man of war. He fought within the years that he was a king. 33 years he was a king, 48 wars. When he was 70 years old, he was already very tired, and one of the Palestine's kind of warriors nearly killed him. And so his soldiers said, "You're not going to come anymore. You're too tired and old. You can't do it anymore." He took out all the power that he ever had in wars, in writing the Psalms. He was a very proactive, assertive, ginger kind of human being, very compassionate, full of feelings. He doesn't negate it. And he had a few wives, 6 exactly, if you look into the Bible. He had quite a few children. King Solomon had more. He had 1,000 wives. I don't want to think about how many kids. He was rich enough to could afford it. This is the basic of it. Now let's go deeper. If you look within creation, there are 6 directions within creation: right and left, forward and backwards, up and down. Let's discuss it for a minute. When I look at the directions, my face also has got 6 directions: right and left. My right side of my face, right, facing right, is speaking about my present future. Also in secret Kabbalistic face reading. My right side will also say, where am I going towards? There's the present, and I'm looking forward towards the future. When I'm looking towards my left, this is where I come from, my past. I carry baggage from the past, fear. I'm anxious about the future. That's the future. Both things are wrong. We should live in the here and now. If you look up and down, up in the direction of spirituality, heaven, what is good. If you look at the direction of down, there's a direction of hell, of darkness, of things in the abyss that we don't know about. So each direction, we all know, describes, depicts, reveals, expresses something within our inner psyche. It's all within us, and it's real. Then there's 2 other directions, forward and backwards. We can go forward in life, which means we're making progress. We can go backwards in life, which means we're living in the past. That's why there's 6 directions around us. I want you to think together with me and show me, reveal to me, where is number 7 within creation? Where is number 7? Well, seriously, within the physical creation, there is no number 7. And yet all of us, even our dear friends, the Chinese, all keep a cycle of 7 days. We call it the Sabbath. Saturday, the 7th day. Where does it come from? Why do we have a cycle of 7 days and not a cycle of 6? Because nature shows us 6. There is nothing in nature which shows 7. Well, if we think about it, the first place and only place that the Bible describes as 7 is within the Sabbath. We look at the 10 Commandments. It's a great reveal. I'm talking to you now in my head of Doctor of Astrophysics, first degrees. We see the cycle of the sun, which is 1 day, right? The sun sets, the sun rises. We see the cycle of the moon, which is 30 days, plus minus. We see the cycle of 10 within our 10 fingers, 10 toes. We do not see the cycle of 7 in nature. The only place it comes from is from the divine Bible, from the Torah and the 10 Commandments. The fourth commandment says, I would like you to guard, keep and maintain the Holy Sabbath. And you must know, by the way, many, many Christians around the world, many people, not only from the Jewish belief, do keep the Sabbath because it is within the commandments. The next commandment is honor your parents, which everybody keeps. Eastern religions, cultures, Christianity, Judaism, Muslims, we all do. But many people around the globe came to understand that this is very important because there's a 7th place within us. Where's the 7th place within me? We're not looking right, left, forward, backwards, up and down. We're looking to find that inner space within me, that heart of mine, that temple within, the inner intuition, the inner feeling. That is the 7th direction. If I walk into a room and there is a void within the room, there is no human being there, it's the void of essence. We give this temple called our body that we house for when it hosts us for 70, 80, 90 years and more, please God, we give it meaning, we give it purpose. This is the seventh direction. So the inner psyche of a human being gives the essence of the number seven, and the day of seventh, which the Sabbath, which in Hebrew means the seventh day, gives structure, purpose, and meaning to the entire week. That's why we all keep a cycle of 7 days. And again, there's nothing in nature to speak about seven. It is a divine message from heaven that even atheists, like most of the Chinese are, our dear friends, the Chinese, keep the cycle of seven. I don't know from where, because it doesn't come from nature. It comes from this letter Zayin, which in Hebrew is the seventh letter. If you count Aleph, Beis, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin, this is the seventh letter. And that seventh letter, I have to finish some of it soon because I need to give you time for your questions as well, also depicts the seventh Sephirah, emanation from the top. If we count, we'll come to the sphere of Netzach, which is eternity, which means we are very proactive. This is the essence of the letter Zayin. I want to conquer life. I want to compete with life. I want to juggle everything. I want to be very assertive, very procreative. That's the first side of the letter Zayin. The other side of the letter Zayin is, in the Hebrew, will be Zehirut, which means be very cautious. Cautiousness means come from being thorough. Don't rush. Don't be impulsive. Think these things through before you do them. Don't jump into getting married. Don't jump into a business. Don't jump head over heels to go into addictions. Don't jump into anything if you don't know the results of where you're jumping into. So think it through. If it's safe, if it's fine, if it's all for you after being weighing all the sides, discussing things with experts, with advisors, with counselors, with spiritual mentors, then go ahead and be assertive. But don't jump into it impulsively without taking into consideration the deeper side of it, which is to be cautious and to weigh out all the examples with it. A person sits like this in human body language. That means he's weighing all the sides with him. When I address these questions now, Mike, which means as follows. And I'm going to end up here the lecture, even though we are nowhere through anything, but we have managed to do quite a lot of progress, which is very good for you. And it is as follows. One of the first couples in history, which was a very successful couple, right? They didn't sin at all, were two people. Abraham, the forefather, and Sarah, his wife, the foremother. Now, they were very rich people, and they brought out a coin. On the one side, they depicted their picture as very young people, which shows proactive, zealousness, moving forward, doing things, assertiveness. That's the one side of the letter Zayin. Zrizut in the Hebrew. Hastiness, assertiveness in a proactive, positive way. The other side of the coin show them their picture as very elderly people, which they were, which means do not jump into things without being thorough, cautious, weighing both sides. After you did, then you can flip the coin and be assertive as well. I think that little story I told you now summarizes very well the two sides of that beautiful letter called Zayin. Now let's have a look at the questions. Now, thank you very much. Question: is that hidden for some specific reason? And the answer is absolutely yes. So if you can see, Mike, maybe the tree of life, we'll see that Da-ath is the 11th Sephirah. Now, somebody who will study the book of creation, which I have quite a few times and lecture about it, and I still am just a student, a scholar of life, says very clearly we have 10 Sephirot and not 11. Very much like we have 10 fingers and 10 toes in not 11. 11 will be an aberration. Why is that? Because the Sephirah of Da-ath is the result of the matching, of the marriage between Chokhmah, wisdom, and Bina, which is understanding. So it does not hold water by itself. It's not a creation of its own. It's a virtual creation which exists within the human body as the trunk of our brain, the base of our brain, where we can measure today scientifically and medically the pulse of life. In other words, even though a heart might have stopped, but we still look at the base of the skull to see if there's certain pulse over there, and doctors know how to do it. And once this is done, we can definitely declare time of death. This is where the Da-ath, this is where this deep knowing, I wouldn't call it knowledge, but knowing of a human being is. And let's think about a certain analogy about it, which the Ramchal, one of the great Kabbalists, about 350 years ago, gave. I go to an architect, and he will draw out exactly how the apartment or the building or the house or the hospital are going to look like. That's not good enough. We're going to use a civil engineer that will come and see, is that possible in the terrain, in the territory that is given. That's why we need him. The architect is wisdom. It's gathering information and making a picture, very clear drawing according to what he thinks is possible. Then we bring it up, and it's not detached from reality. Then we call the civil engineer and we ask him, is that possible within that terrain, within the territory? They will tell us how much, how to do it, how many people to use, etc. Merging of these two together, we will use the foreman. The foreman is the Da-ath. He will bring all that information, he will merge all of them, say, look, I need 10 electricians, 20 plumbers, right? I need 100 workers, builders, construction people, etc. He will make use practically of the merging between the civil engineer and the architect, between the wisdom of the architect, between the understanding practically of how to bring it about of the civil engineer, and together the foreman will tell us exactly what we need to do. This is the merging, the matching, the marriage between the two, but only a result. In other words, the minute that you take away the architect and the civil engineer, it all evaporates. We can't use a foreman working with nothing. That's why it's only a hidden sephira, and it's a result of something else. It cannot come. It doesn't have an entity on its own. Question: is it where Eastern religion get the 7 chakras from? And the answer is absolutely yes. The Eastern religions got 7 chakras which really do exist. But as we discussed with lots of respect, this is a reduction of the 10 sephirot, because within the 7 chakras, there is no right and left. It does not depict the human body correctly. Where are 2 kidneys? Where are 2 eyes? Where are 2 nostrils? Where are 2 hands? Where are 2 legs? Where are 2 testicles? Where? Where? Where are 2 eyes? Where are 2 hemispheres of the brain? So the system of 7 chakras get the right number, but a reduction which we cannot go above and beyond and say, well, that actually depicts 2 hands, 2 legs, etc. No, it's a very reductive kind of system which is lacking and missing the entire picture, and cannot, from that reduction, we cannot go back and describe the entire human being, the entire company, the entire galaxy as it was. But yes, it's very much very true. It's built on the 7 days, and that's why in many languages, even in English, we call it Sunday. Sun, we don't write S-O-N, right? We write S-U-N for the word sun. It's a day of the sun. Monday, it's a day of the moon. So listen to the words. The word Saturday, right? It's a day of Saturn. So behind 7 names of the 7 days, we are depicting the 7 planets. And that's the basic of the 7 chakras. Beautiful. Next, right? You've mentioned learning Kabbalah from the proper lineage of teachers. Absolutely correct. Correct. By the way, you have to be a good scholar to ask this question like Mike is, because when you read the letters, you read his questions, you understand the person is sitting here and learning. This is not simple questions. These are very beautiful questions of somebody who really takes it seriously. Several viewers have asked, is Rav Ashlag of the same line of sages or teachers that you speak of as being authentic Kabbalah? So this is a very, very sensitive question. And let me try and be very factual, and I will tell you the view as it is. So, and I know people will take my words out of context, so please just listen to the way it is in a factual way. Rav Ashlag himself was a great law maker, law as a rabbinical judge in Poland. Then he immigrated to Israel in the 40s, and he became one of the greatest Kabbalists of our generation. No question about it. And he's a great man, and he was one of the first ones who have translated completely the Holy Zohar from Aramaic, which is the original language, which is written especially that most people do not understand it, into the Hebrew. And so he's a great, great, great teacher. Moreover, that's what people know. What most of you don't know, he went and he wrote a Talmud. The Talmud is the oral law. He went and wrote a Talmud, oral law, on the entire level of Kabbalah. And I have it right on my shelf over here, all the books of Kabbalah that he wrote as an incredible teacher. So I went many years back, some 1,000 years back, to learn under one of his direct students that dedicated his life. Today he's already in his 70s. I learned it him when I was very, very young. For many years, we started at 4 o'clock in the morning. We learned together on the Saturdays. We learned around the clock. For many, many years, we learned together, sometimes one-on-one, sometimes with groups. It is a very, very great scholar of his who today is already very famous in Israel, who learned from his direct son. Right. And so Rav Ashlag had many students. Few of them became famous. Some of them took the original way that he wrote, which is depicted within his own books. And that can clearly be seen. What he wrote was his way. And others have commercialized his way of thinking, his way of teaching, and made out of it lots of money and tried to customize it in a very, very in a publishing way, in a very simple, more superficial way. Now, some of it have depicted it correctly and some less. So whenever you wish to learn, you have to check the sources. I know, and you see that I'm watching and I'm being very careful, what we learned today, very cautious everywhere that I'm saying. There's lots of speaking about, there's lots of politics, there's lots of truth into that. So let's just summarize. The late Rav Ashlag, Yuda Leib, his name was a very, very holy, incredible, good man that was definitely in the lineage, one of the last real Kabbalists that walked this earth some 80 years ago, 80, 70 years ago, and operated from Israel and was a personal friend and partnered with the chief rabbi of Israel at the time, Rabbi Kook, who definitely held with him, and translated the entire Zohar and wrote a whole Talmudic version of his on the 10 emanations, which is very hard, has to be learned, and it's a lifetime of study. This beautiful human being had a few major students. Each one took it a different direction. He has children. His major son, his name is Rav Baruch, Shalom Baruch. He was a great, great, very holy man, and he passed away the last about 15 years, brought down the way of his father, and from there, people took it, each one in their direction. I always make sure that I picked and choose his direct students who brought out many books on whatever he did in his life to make sure that I drink from the right pure well, because I am very particular and strict and specific and picky about it, because when I give information, I want to make sure that I give you over the right information. I do many other things, so at least when it comes to this and any other thing, I want to make sure it's clear and not give you mass knowledge which is worthless or wrong or pretense or very superficial. So wherever you do go to learn, right, there are a few good teachers around. I'm not the only one. Make sure that you really do check if this is the right direction. Even though everyone says it is, everybody wants to claim it is, but very few can hold that it really is. So what I do is we skip a few generations. I go back 80s. I go and I read the original writings in the Hebrew, since I speak fluently, of the great Rav Ashlag. And Rav Ashlag did not base himself, he didn't create Kabbalah. He is a student, and a student of students of many generations before, of the Arizal, who lived some 500 years ago, and Rabbi Shimon Yochai, who wrote the Holy Zohar. So we have to check all of these, and it's a study of many, many decades and many years to make sure we get it right. before we can actually say this is the right person to learn by. I can tell you that what you're learning here is absolutely correct, not because I'm saying so, because I don't say anything that I didn't learn from my spiritual mentors, and I made sure to follow them up back 2,000 years, not 50 years or not 80 years. This is to answer. I'm very sorry. This is time sharing room, as I always tell you. Thank you so much, Mike, for hosting us, and I'll be looking forward for the link and for everyone to enjoy this beautiful lecture. Thank you very much for allowing us to have this space.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Gil Tivon. Okay, we had a couple more questions which we were not able to get to tonight, unfortunately, but I will put up the contact information for Dr. Gil Tivon, and just thank you everybody for watching, tuning in, whether you're watching us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, or if you're catching us on the replay. Be sure to subscribe to Metaphysical Sciences TV and click the bell to get notifications for when we will be posting new podclasses and new videos, including questions and answer videos. One of the other questions we had was which planet or part of the body is the spira or the vortex of Da-ath related to? And this is a good question. I am not exactly sure myself. This we will have to address next week, but we do know that Da-ath is sometimes synonymous with knowledge. So this is something that we will have to wait until next week. So yes, let's wait until next week and we will address this and more questions that you guys have. Thank you again, everybody. Thank you to Dr. Gil Tivon very much. We will see you all next week, same time, same place. I wish you all a good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time it is, whatever place it is, wherever you are, whenever you are. Thank you all for joining us very much. We will see you next time. This has been Inner Secrets Revealed, Kabbalah Class with Dr. Gil. I am Mike Ray with Metaphysical Sciences TV. Thank you all, and we'll see you next time.